Is a culture war for the hearts and mind of your child being waged in Florida's public schools? Unfortunately, we would have to say the answer is yes. And this is not an opinion. We have it straight from the horse's mouth. The ACLU of Florida, the Volusia Flagler Chapter, we had a board member actually espouse indoctrination of the children in the classroom at a recent meeting. In addition to that, they were propagating Sharia compliant finance, a type of Islamic finance that is a Trojan horse insinuating Sharia compliant products into America's financial institutions in order to subvert them and put them in the service of Islam. Some of which actually have Americans funding what we call terrorism against ourselves. In addition to that, the local mosque president, the Mosque of Miriam, Riaz Qureshi, who was the featured speaker, as well as he's the president of the Islamic Center of Dewberry, was brought in and he said, quote, this was off the ACLU flyer, that he has spoken out against the proposed censorship and has insisted on a reasoned look at the content of the textbook. Now, despite this fact, one of our ACT members asked him had he read the textbook after he had spoken as an expert on the content for Prentice Hall and World History Alive. He hadn't even read the book. So how can a man like that, what is his motivation for saying that? But the most egregious statement that we heard this gentleman make, when he was questioned by myself about Shabir Mansouri, who runs the Council on Islamic Education, the organization responsible for virtually all Islamic content in major public textbooks across the country, for all 6 major publishers, said, quote, I am waging a bloodless revolution promoting world cultures and faiths in America's public schools. Not only did Mr. Qureshi agree with that statement, he said with a caveat that as long as it was bloodless, that they should be waging it. And they, I could only assume, meant other Islamists like himself. This is an Islamist who's working with Hassan Shibli, same Hassan Shibli that our group and a coalition of other Tea Parties and education groups got kicked out of Hillsborough County schools after months of attending the school boards down there. Be prepared to be shocked at what you're going to hear.
We are ACLU. We're not party affiliated. We're simply trying to preserve the right of everybody to speaking his or her mind. So, without further ado, Mr. Riaz Qureshi, who has kindly agreed to be here to talk to you about the position of Islam in the kind of culture environment that we find ourselves in. Mr. Qureshi.
Thank you. My name is Riaz Qureshi, and I live in Orange City, and I'm the president of the Islamic Center of Deltona area. Now we know about the controversy on the history book. Now this is a history book. It is not a religious book that is teaching Islam. To my understanding, the author and the publisher, that's Prentice Hall, they put this history in a chronological order.
Thank you.
Since Judaism is older than Christianity, they put it first, then Christianity, and Islam is 600 years newer than Christianity, so they put it in the last. So in the 6th grade, they did teach them about Christianity, about Judaism. And then in the 10th grade, they taught them about the history of Islam. It's not that you're just going to teach. This book is not teaching them about 5 pillars of Islam. If it's teaching them 5 pillars of Islam, it's just for them to know that this is their practices of this religion, just to teach the kids the culture.
I would like to know, you brought up textbooks, your remarks, and just kind of move by it. If you had an opportunity yourself to read that textbook or review it?
Which one? No, I didn't. I did not have the opportunity to read that book. No. And I did not, pass an amount of the book. All I said, that we should all know the culture.
Okay, we've got time for 1 or 2 more questions, but we are running out because there is a business meeting. Yes,
Thank you, sir. I just had 2 questions for the Imam.
Yes, sir.
Because Oh, I'm sorry?
I'm just a regular guy. I'm not a
Okay. So you're a lay leader at the mosque? One of the lay leaders?
Well, you know, we don't have a clergy class in Islam.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we don't have an imam or a bishop or a priest or anybody can give the sermon, anybody can lead the prayer.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not the imam.
I basically have two questions,
Sure.
and because I want to get to the textbook issue.
Yes, sir.
But I want to ask you one preface question, and because I know Hassan Shibli, I know he's been over here for the meetings.
Yes.
And I was having lunch with Hassan one day in Tampa,
Yeah.
and he said, you know, there's no Islam without Sharia, and there's no Sharia without Islam.
Okay.
Would you agree with that
Sharia
statement?
means law, and anything, Sharia means law.
Yeah.
Okay, so nothing, you know, our society wouldn't be a society without a law.
Yes.
So we have to have the laws.
So you believe? So you would concur that there's no Sharia without Islam and no Islam without
That
Sharia?
is true.
Okay. Now the question that I want to get with the textbook, really, what we have to look at. I think that we should teach on Islam, absolutely, but I think we need to have a factual narrative. And there are some. I know the Citizens for National Security does study of the book, and I know you haven't had a chance to read it. No. So we're not going to delve into that. But there were issues there were things being taught that weren't factual. There were counterfactual narratives, and those are the issues I think that most people have a problem with. And I think that if we teach a factual narrative, we should teach more of it because it is such a large religion. But my real concern is the messenger, the people that are putting the content in the textbooks. The Council on Islamic Education, which is now they changed their name, but Shabir Mansouri said, quote, and you talked about culture a lot. He said, I am waging a bloodless revolution in America's public schools promoting world cultures and faiths. And him and Susan Douglas, who works with him, she's taught over 8,000 of our teachers. So when I hear a statement like that, and then I go to his other website, which is soundvision.com, and it talks about how to insinuate Islamic Sharia into the school system at the elementary, middle school, high school level, and they have a post on their website that says, quote, America's public schools are fertile grounds where the seeds of Islam can be sowed into the hearts of non-Muslims. This is the guy that's in charge of all the content that's going into this book and others. That becomes a concern because now I'm looking at them saying this isn't about teaching about a culture. Mm-hmm. This is about insinuating a culture on a foreign people or on our country. That crosses the line, in my opinion. Would you agree that that statement, and if that's in fact true, would you believe that's crossing the line?
Well, I have to read all that, before I can say whether he is crossing a line.
But if he in fact made those statements, should that be of concern? Yes, sir. But if he made that statement, would that be of concern, or should that be a concern to Americans? If he made those statements,
I think what you've just analyzed is the free marketplace of ideas. If I am in the free marketplace of ideas, of course I want to convince you. How do you think Christianity?
I understand that. But yes, sir.
How do you think Christianity happened in Europe?
Yes, sir, but this is different. This is different. This is a captive audience. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. Time out. This is a captive audience. These are children minders. This is not the college level where it's a war of ideals. These are a captive audience who are learning. They don't have yet the intellect and the sophistication to determine. So what I'm telling you is, this is a gentleman who said, "I'm waging a bloodless revolution." So my question was, my question to the imam or the gentleman from the mosque was, if those statements were factually made by the people putting the content in the books, should that be of concern to Americans? Yes or no, please.
You have more influence over your children.
Excuse me, I didn't talk to you. I asked the question here. I would like him to answer my question. I would just like he can answer any way he likes, but I would like to hear an address from this gentleman.
Restate that, I didn't catch it all because it's so fast,
Okay, Shabir Mansouri, who runs the Council on Islamic Education, which is responsible for the Islamic content in almost virtually all major textbooks across the United States with all 6 major publishers, said, quote, I am waging a bloodless revolution promoting world cultures and faiths in America's public schools. If that in fact is true, wouldn't you believe that we as parents should be concerned if that was a true factual statement?
So what you said is a bloodless revolution.
Bloodless revolution promoting, yes.
I agree with them. If it's a bloodless revolution, if it's a revolution, yes.
But so you think it's okay for him to do that?
Just a moment.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We have other questions.
Thank you.
Do you agree here tonight that Sharia law is subservient to U.S. secular law? Do you acknowledge that or no?
Well, I really don't know. People just talk about Sharia law. Sharia law is not just a kind of a word or a page. It is books after books after books, okay? And I don't know what section you're talking about. So you have any particular section that you want to go about the
Section
Sharia?
3. Section 3, for example. Do you acknowledge that Sharia law in toto has to be subservient to U.S. secular law?
Well, U.S. law is based on the Islamic law because Thomas Jefferson, he had a translated Quran, and he had, see, when the pursuit of happiness, that comes from the teaching of Allah.
Wow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If I might just briefly interject, the plethora of laws that are included in the Sharia is something that one becomes aware of as you look at Sharia banking, for instance. I think much of our calamity and depression and recession might not have happened if we had listened a little bit more to some Sharia concepts. So what I'm saying is openness,
Wow.
learning is not wrong.